My name is Eleanor Martin. I am 70 years old. And until that morning, I thought I knew my family. I thought I knew my mother. I thought I knew my father. I thought I knew my husband. I thought I knew why the harbor house existed. But sometimes, the truth waits until you are strong enough to handle it. That morning, Thomas Reed stood in my doorway and said, "Your uncle is alive." I stared at him. My uncle. He nodded. The brother nobody told you about. I couldn't speak. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because sometimes shock makes you laugh. I don't have an uncle. Thomas looked at me. You do. Who? He opened the old box. Inside were photographs, letters, documents, and one photograph of a young man standing beside my mother. I picked it up. Who is he? Thomas answered. His name is Samuel Martin. I looked at the photograph again. Samuel. Yes. Where is he? Thomas looked toward the ocean. About 2 hours from here. My hands began trembling. You're telling me my uncle has been alive all these years? Yes. Why didn't anyone tell me? Thomas sighed. That's the question. The brother who disappeared. Sarah arrived that afternoon. I showed her the photograph. She stared at it. I've never seen him. Neither have I. Sarah sat down. What did Mom say? Nothing. What about Dad? Nothing. Sarah looked at the photograph. He looks like Mom. He does. We sat silently. Then Sarah whispered. Maybe that's why they never talked about him. Why? Because something happened. I looked at her. What? I don't know. That answer frightened me more than anything else. Because when people hide something for 50 years, they usually have a reason. The drive north. The next morning, Thomas drove me to Samuel's home. The road followed the coastline. The sky was gray. The ocean looked endless. I kept staring through the window. Are you nervous? Thomas asked. Yes. Do you want to turn back? I thought about it. No. Why? Because I've spent 70 years turning away from difficult things. Thomas smiled. And now I'm tired of running. He nodded. We continued driving. After almost 2 hours, we arrived at a small farmhouse. There were flowers in the garden, a wooden bench, and an old red mailbox. Thomas stopped. Here we are. I stared at the house. My heart was beating so loudly I could hear it. Does he know I'm coming? Yes. How? I called him. What did he say? Thomas looked at me. He said he had been waiting for this day for a very long time. Samuel. The door opened. An elderly man stood there. White hair. Thin face. Blue eyes. He looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us spoke. Then he whispered, Eleanor. My heart broke. I didn't know him. But somehow, his voice felt familiar. I stepped closer. You know me. He smiled sadly. I've known your name my entire life. I looked at him. Why? He looked toward the photograph in my hand. Because you are my sister's daughter. My eyes filled with tears. You're Samuel. He nodded. Yes. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Instead, I said, why didn't you come? He looked down. Because I was told you didn't want me. I froze. What? He shook his head. I was told your family wanted me gone. I felt anger rising. My mother would never say that. Samuel smiled sadly. She didn't. Then who did? He looked at Thomas. Thomas lowered his eyes. And suddenly, I understood. There was another person involved. Someone who had been protecting a secret. The truth about David. We sat inside Samuel's house. He made coffee. I laughed. What? You still make it the same way Mom did. He smiled. You remember? Of course. He stared into his cup. Your mother was the kindest person I ever knew. What happened? He took a breath. Our father didn't accept me. Why? Because I was born before he married your mother. I stared. Samuel continued. My father had another relationship. My mouth fell open. My grandfather? He nodded. He was young. And Mom? She knew. Did she hate you? No. She protected me. I couldn't understand. Then why were you separated? Samuel looked down. Because your grandfather threatened to leave the family. I felt tears fill my eyes. So Mom chose him? No. He looked at me. She chose both of us. Margaret's sacrifice. Samuel told me the story. My mother had secretly helped him. She sent money. She wrote letters. She visited whenever she could. But my father eventually discovered it. He became angry. He told her she had to choose. My mother refused. So they made an agreement. Samuel would leave town. My mother would continue supporting him. But the rest of the family would never know. I covered my face. She hid him to protect everyone. Samuel nodded. She believed silence would prevent more pain. I whispered. But silence caused pain too. He looked at me. Yes. The letter. Samuel gave me a box. Inside were dozens of letters. All from my mother. I opened one. Samuel. I miss you. Eleanor asked about you today. She doesn't know who you are. But someday. I hope she does. I cried. Another letter said. I bought the house near the ocean. I want it to become a place where people who feel forgotten can belong. Maybe someday Eleanor will understand. I looked at Samuel. The harbor house. He nodded. That was Mom's dream. I finally understood. The harbor house wasn't about property. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about the ocean. It was about people who felt forgotten. People like Samuel. People like my mother. People like me. Why James knew. I asked Samuel. Did James know about you? He nodded. Yes. When? Before he died. How? He found your mother's letters. I closed my eyes. Why didn't he tell me? Samuel smiled. Because he wanted to protect your mother's choice. I shook my head. He should have told me. Yes. I'm angry. You have the right to be. I looked at him. Did he ever talk about me? Samuel smiled. All the time. What did he say? That you were the strongest woman he had ever known. I began crying. Samuel reached across the table. He loved you very much. The thing James never finished. Samuel handed me another envelope. This is from James. I stared. Another one? He smiled. He gave it to me 2 months before he died. I opened it. Eleanor. If Samuel ever contacts you, listen to him. Don't be angry with him. He lost as much as you did. Maybe more. And if you ever finish the harbor house, don't put my name on it. Put your mother's name. She deserves to have her dream remembered. I pressed the letter against my heart. James had known. He had planned everything. But he had also understood something I didn't. The harbor house wasn't supposed to be a monument to him. It was supposed to be a place for people who still needed somewhere to belong. Samuel comes to harbor house. I invited Samuel to Maine. He was nervous. I was nervous. Sarah was nervous. Daniel was confused. Emily cried. When Samuel walked into harbor house, everyone became quiet. I introduced him. This is Samuel. Daniel smiled politely. Nice to meet you. Samuel looked at him. You have your grandfather's eyes. Daniel froze. What? Samuel laughed. Don't worry. That's a compliment. Rosie walked up. Are you Miss Ellie's uncle? Samuel smiled. Yes. Are you really old? Everyone laughed. Samuel looked at me. She asks everyone that. I nodded. She has no fear. Rosie smiled. I have questions. Samuel laughed. I can tell. The family dinner. We had dinner together. For the first time in decades. The entire family sat around one table. Sarah, Samuel, Daniel, Emily, me, Claire, Nora, Mr. Harris, Walter, Rosie. The table was crowded. Walter complained about the food. Nora told him to stop complaining. Mr. Harris argued with Walter. Rosie stole a dinner roll. Samuel laughed. Daniel told a terrible joke. Emily groaned. I looked around. I suddenly remembered James. This was exactly what he wanted. A full table. People laughing. People belonging. I raised my glass. To family. Sarah smiled. To family. Samuel raised his glass. To second chances. I looked at him. And to the people who waited long enough to find their way home. The funniest night. After dinner, everyone stayed late. Walter decided to dance. Nobody had asked him to. He simply stood up. I can still dance. I laughed. James used to say that. Walter began moving. It was terrible. Rosie shouted. You dance like a broken robot. Everyone burst out laughing. Walter looked offended. I am demonstrating a classic dance. Mr. Harris said. Classic disaster. Walter threw a napkin at him. For the next 20 minutes, everyone danced. Even Samuel. Even Sarah. Even Daniel. I stood in the middle of the room, laughing. And for a moment, I felt 20 again. The secret room. A few weeks later, Samuel told me something else. There is another room under the house. What? Your mother showed it to me once. We searched. Behind the library shelves, we found a small wooden door. Walter opened it. A narrow staircase led downward. We followed. At the bottom was a small room. Inside were boxes, photographs, old newspapers, and a wooden desk. On the desk was my mother's handwriting. For Eleanor. I opened the drawer. Inside was one final notebook. Margaret's journal. The notebook contained my mother's private thoughts. She wrote about everything. Her marriage. Her fears. Her children. Her brother. Her dreams. And me. One page said, Eleanor has always tried to save everyone. I worry that one day she will forget that she deserves saving too. I stopped reading. I couldn't continue. Sarah took my hand. She knew. I nodded. She knew everything. Another page said, maybe the ocean will teach her what I couldn't. I looked at the window. Beyond it was the ocean. I cried. The letter to my younger self. The final page was different. It was addressed to Eleanor at 70. My hands shook. I opened it. My dear Eleanor, if you are reading this, you are probably old enough to understand something I didn't understand when I was your age. You cannot live everyone's life for them. You cannot protect everyone. You cannot stop every heartbreak. You cannot make everyone stay. But you can choose what you do with the time you have left. If you are alone, don't be afraid. If your children have grown, let them grow. If someone leaves, let them go. If you still have a dream, follow it. And if you are standing near the ocean, look at the horizon. It is proof that there is always something beyond what you can see. Love. Mom. I cried for a long time. The last argument with Daniel. Not everyone was happy. Daniel came to me one evening. Mom, we need to talk. About what? The property. I knew immediately. You think I'm going to sell it? Yes. No. He became frustrated. Mom, you're 70. I know. You can't keep working forever. I don't plan to. Then what do you plan to do? I looked at him. Live. He went silent. I continued. I spent my entire life worrying about what everyone else needed. You're my mother. Yes. And I need you. I smiled. I know. He looked at me. But you don't need me to control my life. His eyes filled with tears. I don't want to lose you. I walked toward him. You won't. He hugged me. I was afraid. So was I. Emily's truth. Later that evening, Emily confessed something too. I used to be angry at you. I looked at her. Why? Because you always seemed stronger than me. I laughed softly. I was pretending. She cried. I thought you didn't need me. I always needed you. Then why didn't you say it? I smiled. Because mothers are sometimes terrible at asking for help. She hugged me. We stayed like that for a long time. The harbor house expands. The community grew. People began donating books. Older residents came for tea. Children came after school. Nora started baking every Friday. Walter taught basic woodworking. Mr. Harris started history lessons. Claire organized support groups. Samuel told stories about the old days. Sarah visited every month. Daniel helped with finances. Emily created the anniversary. 1 year after Harbor House opened, we held a celebration. There were balloons, music, food, children running everywhere. Samuel stood beside me. Sarah held my hand. Daniel and Emily were laughing together. I looked at the crowd. Hundreds of people had passed through those doors. People who had felt alone. People who needed help. People who simply needed somewhere to sit. My mother had dreamed of this. James had believed in it. And now, it was real. James's chair. Before the celebration ended, I placed one chair near the ocean. On it was James's photograph. People asked why. I simply said, because he belongs here. I sat beside the photograph. James, I whispered. I finally did it. The wind moved through the trees. The waves rolled toward the shore. For a moment, I imagined him sitting beside me. He smiled. I smiled. Then I whispered, you were right. The last promise. Sarah sat beside me. You look happy. I am. Do you miss him? Every day. Does it hurt? Sometimes. She nodded. I looked at the ocean. But now the pain has company. She smiled. What does that mean? I have memories. I touched James's photograph. I don't only remember losing him. I remember having him. Sarah squeezed my hand. That makes sense. The house becomes home. Eventually, I moved into a small room attached to Harbor House. It wasn't because I couldn't live alone. It was because I didn't want to. Every morning, children came running through the doors. Every afternoon, older neighbors drank tea. Every evening, someone stopped by. The house was no longer silent. It was alive. Exactly the way I had wanted. Exactly the way my mother had dreamed. Exactly the way James had hoped. My 71st birthday. 1 year later, I turned 71. Rosie made me a cake. It was crooked. The frosting was melting. There were too many candles. I looked at it. Rosie. Yes. Did you make this? Yes. Is it supposed to look like that? She smiled. Yes. I laughed. What flavor? Chocolate. I took a bite. I stopped. She looked nervous. Well. I smiled. It's perfect. It wasn't. It was terrible. But I ate every bite. Because sometimes love tastes terrible. And you eat it anyway. The ocean. That evening, I walked to the shore. I was 71. My mother had never made it here. James never got to see me standing here. But somehow, both of them were with me. I took off my shoes. The water touched my feet. Cold. Beautiful. Real. I looked toward the horizon. And I finally understood what my mother meant. There is always something beyond what you can see. The final letter. Back at the house, I opened James's final letter again. I had read it many times. But this time, I noticed something I hadn't noticed before. At the bottom was a small handwritten sentence. Eleanor, when you finally stop taking care of everyone else, remember to take care of yourself. I laughed. James. I shook my head. You always had to have the last word. I folded the letter. Then I placed it beside my mother's. 2 people. 2 letters. 2 dreams. 1 life. Mine. What I learned. I used to think my life was about sacrifice. Now I know it was about love. I loved my parents. I loved Sarah. I loved James. I loved Daniel. I loved Emily. I loved my friends. I loved Rosie. I loved people who needed help. But I finally learned something important. Love should not require you to disappear. You can love someone without losing yourself. You can forgive someone without allowing them to hurt you again. You can help someone without carrying their entire life on your shoulders. And you can miss someone without refusing to live. Daniel's last question. One evening, Daniel sat beside me. Mom. Yes. Are you afraid of getting older? I smiled. I used to be. And now? Now I'm more afraid of wasting the time I have left. He nodded. Do you regret anything? I thought for a moment. Yes. What? I wish I had laughed more. Daniel smiled. You laughed a lot. Not enough. He laughed. Then I'll make sure you laugh more. I smiled. That sounds like a threat. It is. The family photo. We took another family photograph. This time, nobody behaved. Walter blinked. Sarah laughed. Daniel made a ridiculous face. Emily complained. Rosie jumped. Samuel stood in the wrong place. Mr. Harris refused to smile. Nora was holding a pie. And I was laughing. The photographer said, "Everyone look at the camera." Nobody did. And that became my favorite photograph. Because it reminded me of the first one. The one from decades ago. The one with James. Life had changed. People had changed. But the laughter remained. The last visit to the ocean. Years later, I returned to the beach alone. I walked slowly. My knees hurt. My hair was completely white. I sat on the sand. I thought about the little girl in Ohio. The young woman in the diner. The mother with 2 children. The wife beside James. The widow. The lonely woman. The woman who rebuilt her life. They were all me. Different ages. Different fears. Different dreams. But one heart. I closed my eyes. And I heard the waves. For a moment, I could hear James laughing. I could hear my mother's voice. I could hear Sarah shouting. Daniel asking, "Are we there yet?" Emily laughing. Rosie saying, "Miss Ellie, you're old." I laughed. Then I whispered, "Yes, I am. And I am still here." My final message. If you are listening to my story, I want you to remember something. Do not wait. Don't wait until you're 70. Don't wait until someone dies. Don't wait until your children grow up. Don't wait until the house is empty. Don't wait until the perfect opportunity arrives. Take the trip. Make the call. Take the photograph. Eat the cake. Dance badly. Forgive when you can. Walk away when you must. And most importantly, don't disappear while taking care of everyone else. You matter too. Your dreams matter. Your happiness matters. Your story matters. The Harbor House today. Today, Harbor House still stands beside the ocean. The library is larger. The garden is full of flowers. The kitchen is always busy. The walls are covered with photographs. One photograph shows my mother. Another shows James. Another shows Sarah. Another shows Daniel and Emily as children. And another shows Rosie standing beside me. Underneath that photograph is a small plaque. It says, "Sometimes the family you are born into teaches you how to survive. Sometimes the family you find teaches you how to live." I didn't write that sentence. Rosie did. She's older now. She says she wants to run Harbor House someday. I tell her, "You'll have to work." She says, "I know." Then she smiles. "That's why I'll make you work too." I laugh. The life I lived. When I look back now, I don't see one life. I see hundreds of moments. My mother's kitchen. My father's workshop. Sarah's secret money. The diner. The popcorn. The wedding. Daniel's first steps. Emily's books. The pancake on the ceiling. The ridiculous Christmas tree. The road trips. James dancing. The lake. The hospital. The empty chair. The attic. The envelope. The ocean. Samuel. The Harbor House. The children. The laughter. The tears. All of it. Every piece. Every mistake. Every heartbreak. Every beautiful moment. It all brought me here. The woman by the ocean. My name is Eleanor Martin. I am 71 years old. My hair is white. My hands are wrinkled. My knees complain when it rains. And I still burn pancakes sometimes. But I am happy. Not because life was perfect. It wasn't. Not because everyone stayed. They didn't. Not because I avoided pain. I didn't. I'm happy because I finally stopped waiting for life to become perfect before allowing myself to live it. I finally understood my mother's message. I finally understood James's dream. I finally forgave my family. And most importantly, I finally forgave myself. For all the years I spent believing I wasn't enough. For all the years I thought I had to save everyone. For all the years I thought my happiness had to wait. It didn't. It never did. That evening, I walked toward the ocean one final time. The sun was setting. The sky was golden. The water reflected the light. I carried 2 letters in my hand. My mother's. And James's. I held them against my heart. Then I whispered, "Thank you. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, James. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you to everyone who walked into my life. And even to those who walked out. Because every person taught me something. Every loss changed me. Every laugh healed me. Every mistake made me wiser. Every difficult road brought me closer to myself. I looked toward the horizon. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for tomorrow. I was grateful for today. The waves moved gently toward the shore. I smiled. And I said the words my mother had written decades ago. There is always something beyond what you can see. Then I turned around. And walked home. Not toward the life I once had. Not toward the life I thought I should have. But toward the life I had finally chosen. My own. And that was enough.